Loving Heavenly Father, we give thanks we can meet via Zoom again and to look into the chronology of the Bible. We ask the Holy Spirit to guide us to your study, to direct us, and pray it will be profitable, give us a greater understanding of your word. And we pray for those in the world today, Father, you're looking at scenes of war, Father. We pray that you can comfort those who are being persecuted, and that those who are seeing these here things can awaken to the times we are living in and know that you are the answer to all our needs. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So, Stephen, where did we get to last time? Do you remember? Can you give us a review of how far we had gotten? Because I thought we had gone through the Kings, but then we're kind of going back today, right, to deal with some details?
We did almost get through the Kings. We
Almost.
stopped. Let's see.
Josiah, I think.
Yes. So yeah, we done 605 because
Jehoiakim. Yeah.
Yes, because there were some things you noted there, and I made corrections on it.
Okay.
And we done 597 as well. There was things there we
Okay.
I think that's wrong there.
So we're going to go. So what we're going to do today then is we're going to kind of deal with a few of the periods, just kind of work out some of the details.
Well, what I'm going to do now is just go a quick brief look over some. I've made some changes.
Okay.
From the last document, from the last presentation, we highlighted some things, and I've added some things to this here document, and hopefully not spend too long. And then we'll look at the issue with Josiah.
Okay.
Or maybe not Josiah, Hosea.
Hosea?
Hosea, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'll go back to there. And I was just working on a document just before I began here. So I haven't added to any of these here documents, but it's still just on a PowerPoint.
Okay. But we'll look at that. Okay.
Yeah. So just a brief view of what we did last time, the Kings. We've seen that if you add up the Kings' reigns, it comes to 393 and 6 months, years. And then you can take account of a 2-year co-regency.
Mm-hmm.
I dealt with that. Now I've added some more of these here, diagrams where you compare the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah.
Yeah.
Now we had this one done the last time, and so we've seen that. I don't think I made any changes to this one, but I have done 2 more.
Yeah. Well, just go back to that one a little bit. So the nice thing about these diagrams is they're focusing in on a short period of time, and it's really useful to see Asa's reign here with these other periods instead of being stretched out. Because often when we draw out these chronology lines, we'll make them in sort of Baasha has 26 years, so it's going to be big. But you can just see here by placing it this way, you can see a lot more at once. And you can see it's 24 years for Baasha and 2 for Nadab. So you don't have to make Baasha, 12 times as long as Nadab. That's how I tended to do it anyway. So these are nice. And then just adding things up and looking at how they line up with a short period of time of the period of the Kings, I think is really useful.
Yes. So for instance, it'll say that Nadab reigned 2 years.
Yeah.
and that he began the reign on the 2nd year of Asa, and then he died in the 3rd year of Asa.
Yeah.
So we know it's not going to be 2 years, full years. It's going to be less than 2 years, and it's going to be rounded up. Or else you could maybe say it's including the ascension year of Nadab.
Well, okay. So one of the things, I know it's not an easy thing for people to visualize, but basically they're going to count uh, any part of a year as a year based upon the biblical year, either whether they're going spring to spring or fall to fall. So yeah, so we would just say 2 years. It's got to be 2 years. But what they're wanting to do is I mean, because they're telling you he starts in the 2nd year of Asa and ends in the 3rd year. Well, that's a year, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if we were going to count it, we would say that's a year, but it's parts of 2 years. And I've come to the conclusion that even though the northern kingdom counts their reigns fall to fall, that when the Bible's counting the years of their reign, they're counting them based upon the biblical year, spring to spring. I shouldn't say I've come to the conclusion. I'm leaning towards that conclusion from some of the study I've done recently, and it seems like a good explanation. So that when they say he reigned 2 years, what they mean is he reigned part of the 2nd year of Asa and part of the 3rd year of Asa. It has nothing to do with his particular count. And if you think about it, what they're doing is the kings of Judah are meant to be added up so that you can come to a total of the kings of Judah. But the kings of Israel are just basically attached to the kings of Judah, right? So the kings of Israel, they're not trying to tell you how many years on their count that they have for those kings. They're just trying to tell you. So when it says 2 years, it's actually talking about the 2 years of Asa's reign. Does that make sense?
And we have Abijah here,
Yeah.
and with Jeroboam, it's he begins his reign in the 18th year of Jeroboam, and
Yeah.
he ends it in the 20th year of Jeroboam. So
Mhm.
that would be the same thing, except it's the other way. It's not. It's not with the.
Yeah.
It's vice versa.
Yeah. But see, he may have reigned like 2.5 years or 2 3/4 years, right? So they're going to
Yeah.
have to round it up if you're going to add the total, right? At least in my views, it seems that they want us to be able to know how many years it's been, right? They're not just, they're not being arbitrary about it. They have a reason why they're doing what they're doing. So yeah, so you could easily begin, and that's one of the reasons we know they have staggered reigns, right?
Yeah. So the Book of Kings, we don't know who the writer is, and we don't know exactly when it was written. Is that
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah, we
just
don't.
compiled. It's compiled maybe in the time of the captivity. Would that be right?
Well,
Is
I,
that
I
fair?
would think that the Book of Kings was compiled um, over the period of time in which it occurred, and but the Book of Chronicles, which was put together by Ezra, is taking lots of these other sources and putting them together, including the books of Kings and other books.
Mhm.
But um, but yeah, we don't know exactly who put together the Book of Kings. We do know Chronicles was Ezra.
Okay.
Okay.
We've covered this here. So this is another thing I've just picked up. Sort of amplified. I had mentioned it there just as a footnote.
Okay.
So this is the Jehu. His reign is replaced by his son, Jehoahaz, and
Yeah.
then he's replaced by Jehoash or
Okay. The
Joash.
thing with Joash. Yeah.
Okay. So it says there in 2 Kings 13, verse 1, and in the 23rd year of Joash, Jehoahaz, the son of Jehu, began to reign over Israel in Samaria, and he reigned 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then his son Joash and this Jehoash, sorry, it's sort of they're kind of sort of
Yeah. They're similar, Jehoash and Joash. Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes they are spelled the same. So
I know.
in the 37th year of Joash, so this is the 23rd year. So this would be like 14 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So the 37th year began Joash, the son of Jehoahaz, to reign over Israel in Samaria, and he reigned 16 years. So these here 17 years would seem to extend 3 years after Jehoash begins to reign. So that's maybe like an evidence of a co-regency in northern Israel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I have added that to the this next diagram. So we left off with Ahab and Jehoshaphat, so I've added them to this one just to
Yeah.
sort of pick up the line again. And this is identifying Jehu, and then Jehoahaz is going 17 years, and then this year is like a three-year period in here then, which would be like a co-regency.
Yeah.
And there's an issue here with the second year of Jehoram being the 18th year of Jehoshaphat. That it says that Ahaziah,
Yeah.
the son of Ahab, he dies at that their time. So this would be before, but Jehoram, he really begins to reign in the 5th year of Jehoram.
Yeah.
But it says here that this Joram, he begins to reign in the 2nd year of Jehoram.
Mm-hmm.
So the understanding there is that the story in 1 Kings 22, you have Jehoshaphat and Ahab sort of come together to come against Ramoth Gilead. So the idea there is that Jehoshaphat made Joram some kind of sort of like a co-regent, maybe in some sense, like some viceroy ready to step in, just in case something happened to Jehoshaphat. Maybe that's what someone has suggested.
Yeah.
So it would tie in with the timeline. So if you go back 2 years, that would be roughly where Ahab died at that battle.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's mentions there that would be the 17th year of Jehoshaphat.
Okay.
And then you have Jehoram here in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, and the 2nd year of Jehoram.
Okay.
But Joram is quite, again, it's
I know, and it's such a difficult puzzle because of the similarities of names to keep track of who they're talking about. But
so I have I think it wrote about it here.
Mhm.
And that's
That's the one you showed us.
yeah. So Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, began to reign in the 5th year of Jehoram, and then of Joram. So that's mentions that there. And then it's 1 Kings for 1:17 would appear to make that Joram began to reign in Jehoram's 2nd year. And Larry Price suggests I think he's someone that does work with Answers in Genesis.
Larry
Suggests,
Pierce. Larry Pierce.
is it Pierce? What have I got?
Because I know a Larry Pierce who works with Answers in Genesis.
Okay, so I'll have to check that. I have Price there,
Okay.
but I'll check that.
Yeah.
So he suggests Joram was made a vice regent sometime in the 16th year of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat at that time was preparing to help Ahab with the Assyrians and appointed his son as caretaker while he would be away.
Yeah, it's
Jehoram,
Larry Pierce you're quoting.
right, okay, thanks. So Jehoram numbered his years of reign from that point until he was made viceroy 6 years later. So that's what he's suggesting.
Now, which paper was that of his?
It was Usher's timeline of the divided kings.
Yep, that's Larry Pierce. Yeah. Yeah, that's his sort of specialty, dealing with Usher.
Mm-hmm. And then just like another seeming little issue there is the 12th year of Ahaziah. Sorry, the 12th year of Joram, Ahaziah begins to reign.
Yeah.
But it also mentions it's his 12th year as well.
His 11th year and his 12th year, two different ways.
Right. I have the scriptures here. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, did Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, begin to reign. And then it says, and in the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab began Ahaziah to reign over Judah. So my understanding is that it depends if you're going to include his accession year or not.
Mm-hmm.
That be a valid reason. So his accession year began in the 11th year of Joram, but he began to reign with having his years counted in his 12th year.
Yeah, and so it seems evident that different chronologists look at it from different perspectives. That is, they sometimes are counting a king's reign differently than he would count it, even. Whether you're in northern Israel or southern Israel. Whether you're going to count it spring to spring or fall to fall.
Okay, so I've added some details here that I had not recognized. You brought to light that Jeroboam died earlier than I had it. I didn't recognize this here period when there's like 11 years or so.
Yeah.
There's like anarchy.
Yeah, the years of anarchy, they sometimes refer to it as an interregnum. So so northern Israel, in order for them to have a king over all of Israel, they have to be able to unite all of Israel. So there's periods of time in which this doesn't happen.
Okay, so there's an issue here now we can address, the 27th year of Jeroboam. So it mentions there that Amaziah was killed in the conspiracy and Uzziah reigns.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with Amaziah's age, I think the chronology is, I have it set out here. So Jeroboam begins to reign in the 15th year of Amaziah.
Mm-hmm.
So the 27th year of Jeroboam, he'll be reigning like, that would be, let me see now, how does this work?
That's 14 years between 824 810.
Yes. So that Uzziah then began to reign at that their time when he's aged, according to, I think this is Usher's proposal, that he was 16. And you have here the 27th year going back to 836, when Jeroboam would be a viceroy for a certain length of time before he actually begins to reign solely. In the 15th year of Amaziah. So maybe you can explain this better. So
Well, it's just in this count, it just says that when he technically begins to reign is at age 4, but he's under regents. And this isn't really my solution. This is other people have had this solution as well. So it's been around for a long time, but it's the one I choose. I don't choose Usher's proposal. It seems, from my perspective at least, a little bit contrived. Just doesn't seem as clear. Whether I'm right or not, I can't tell you. But the idea that he's under regents from the age of 4 until 16 is just another solution, I guess, to the problem. But Amaziah is going to die in 810 in either case.
yes,
Yeah.
it's just determining what age Uzziah is at that time.
Yeah, it's basically just the age of Uzziah that's the issue, not how long Uzziah reigns. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So whether one's right or not, it doesn't change the overall chronology.
Yes, it's just fitting Uzziah into that 27th year of Jeroboam. It's just whether you're going to have Jeroboam like being a co-regent as well for a certain amount of time until Uzziah is 16 at that time.
Yeah, so somebody's going to have to be a co-regent, whether it's Uzziah or whether it's the other guy, Jeroboam, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's two different solutions, but nobody knows which one is the correct one.
Right. Okay.
And I haven't looked at what Ellen White says about it, to be honest. So whether she gives any light on it.
Yeah, I don't think she does.
Yeah, I don't think.
Well, but maybe worth checking in.
Yeah.
Into that.
Well, a cursory reading of it, but whether there's some little clue that I missed. I'd have to read everything she writes on this.
Okay, so this is the last one. So this joins again with Joash from that time, from when he begins to reign. And I'm just wondering, I might need to change this. I'm not sure, but anyway, we have here then Jeroboam, and then there's that period of anarchy, about 11 years.
Yeah.
And then we have the second year of Pekah. Jotham begins to reign until the 17th year of Pekah. Then we have Ahaz, and then there's another period of anarchy after Pekah. And then we have Hosea began to reign in the 12th year of Ahaz, and then Hezekiah begins to reign in the 3rd year of Hosea.
Yeah.
I have added up here 121 years from this period of time in Joash's, when he begins to reign,
Mm-hmm.
till the 6th year of Hezekiah. And if you add up the kings of the northern kingdom, you have 98 years and 7 months. So
Basically 22 years short.
yes. So
Yeah, so 22 years has to be filled up with the periods of anarchy.
yes, but that there, I'm thinking that might be a bit long as well. That 121 years, it might be
Less.
short by a year or two. So
I think it should be 120, but
so yeah.
because I have 20 years, 9 and 11 for the years of anarchy. The first one, 11 years, and the second one, 9 years. That's 20 years difference.
Yeah, so that be the case.
Yeah. Now, just go back up there a little bit. So, to sort of explain to people what's happening here, because, Stephen and I are very familiar with all of this. But this comes down to a bit of an important point, because we're going to be dealing with the events both in Hezekiah's reign with the Passover in 2 Chronicles 29 and 30, where they have it in the second month, and then also the end of Hoshea's reign with the beginning of the 25-20 for northern Israel. And it's one of the most difficult puzzles to work out. And so we're going to have to go to it in a bit more detail. But you can't just start the puzzle there. You kind of have to go back and look at this whole span, or at least a lot of this span, dealing with the end of Uzziah's reign and Jotham, the beginning of his reign. So one of the things it says here, just looking at that, it says, the Jotham begins to reign in the 2nd year of Pekah. But Pekah begins to reign in the 52nd year of Uzziah, and we assume that Jotham does as well. So they both begin to reign in the 52nd year of Uzziah or Azariah. And yet it appears on the surface that they're 2 years apart at the start of their reign, but they're really only about a half a year apart. Have you dealt with that? Have you tried to sort through that, Stephen?
Not in detail.
Okay, because
I have, yeah. I did align them. I just sort of put them together in the same year.
in here, but yeah, you have to go back a bit or wherever you are. So
Yes.
yeah. So in the 52nd year, yeah.
So that's all I've done. I changed that from last time because I had Jotham reign in 757.
Yeah.
I put them in the same year.
Yeah. So it's in the same year on our calendar. So it's about 6 months apart. But then it says that he begins to reign in the 2nd year of, so he's obviously counting his reign differently.
Yeah, so I could maybe make a diagram that would explain that a bit better.
Yeah.
So I have a diagram. I haven't added this here. We can maybe look at this period here of when Hosea begins to reign and try to work that out, the issues there.
Okay.
So we do that, okay? So
Okay.
I'll stop.
Yeah. So I just want to look at the, so there's the verses. Pekahiah reigns in Israel. So this is Pekahiah in the 50th year of Azariah, and he's going to reign 2 years. And then Pekah in the 250th year of Azariah, king of Judah. Azariah is Uzziah. Pekah the son of Remaliah began to reign over Israel and Samaria and reigned 20 years. So the thing that's interesting here is you got Pekahiah beginning to reign in the 50th, and he reigns 2 years. And then you have Pekah beginning to reign in the 52nd year. So that would just be a simple addition. So it appears there that they would be using accession year dating, right? So he's not saying it's 3 years, even though it's 2 years apart. So at least that's a possibility. But then you're going to have Uzziah reigns for 52 years, and then Jotham is going to begin to reign when his dad dies, supposedly in the 52nd year of his reign. So Pekah and Jotham's reign, they both begin to reign in the same year. And that affects a lot of this count here, dealing with Ahaz and Hoshea and Hezekiah. So if you don't get Pekah and Jotham right, it makes it really difficult. Now you said, do you have a diagram? Because I did my diagram, so you have one similar to mine.
Yes, I have to change. I have to add in the 52nd year there in that diagram.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll show you what I've just been working on.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is, of course, essential for our movement, understanding 723 BC. So it's, I know it's a little technical.
That's too big.
So Hoshea's first 4 years.
Better. Yes. So I had sent you a document where I was trying to say that Hezekiah was like a co-regency.
Yeah.
With Ahaz. So this one here, I've kind of changed it where it doesn't work out that was required. And so here I have here the year 726 BC. This is the year of the Passover from January to December. So that's the way that works. So this is just the normal years, January to December. And so I have here a March, April time period for the spring to spring count, and then a September, October being marked for the fall to fall count. And I have Ahaz's 12th year being from the spring to the spring here.
Mm-hmm.
And we have here in 12th year of Ahaz began Hosea to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I've placed Hosea here. There's no specific reason why that we're given from when Hosea begins to reign in the 12th year of Ahaz, but I'm putting him here right at the near the end. Okay, certainly after, certainly you could maybe have it a little bit later if you want it. It wouldn't change anything, but I'm just sort of still putting it sort of near before Ahaz's 13th year, so just before it. And then I'm marking there the first year of Hosea, and he's going to have a fall to fall reign.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So I'm going to share my diagram here just because it has an earlier part that I think is important. So mine's a little harder to read because it's not so big. You probably have a hard time seeing the years here. They're in the black in the center. Those are our calendar years. But we know at some point that Judah is going to move from a spring to spring to a fall to fall year. We don't know when, but it seems that this is going to happen in this period of time. Now you're saying it's going to happen in the reign of Hezekiah, then, when Hezekiah reigns?
I'm going to say that, yes.
Yeah, where I put it earlier, but this is the situation when Hoshea is going to kill Pekah, and he's going to kill Pekah in the 20th year of the reign of Jotham. Now Jotham reigned 16 years, and then he dies, and then Ahaz begins to reign sometime in 742. And the question is, why does the Bible say it's in the 20th year of Jotham that Hoshea kills Pekah? Why wouldn't they just say the 20th or the 4th year of Ahaz? Right? Why are they referring to the father's year of reign? And my suggestion, whether it's right or wrong, is that since Ahaz changed how he's counting his reign, they're distinguishing it by counting the years of the reign of Jotham. So in this case, it would have been the 3rd year of Ahaz if Ahaz had changed to a fall to fall calendar. That is, before that, if he would have counted his reign in the spring of 742, then that would have been the case. It would have been in the 4th year. But he's now going to have most of 742 being his accession year, and then he's going to start his 1st year in the fall of 742. And this would be one explanation of why they're doing this, why they're saying in the 20th year of Jotham. But then also, we would still have the case that there are 2 different ways to count Ahaz's reign. So what I did is I continued his reign here on the bottom here. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. So this is the period in which we're talking about. So you can see here, if Hoshea is going to kill Pekah here in the 20th year of Pekah's reign, it's not going to say in the 20th year of Pekah's reign. It's going to say in the 20th year of Jotham's reign. So this is Jotham's reign. Ahaz is going to begin reigning. I don't know why this is over here. It should be a bit more over here. Put that over there. So you could see the 20th year of Jotham spans both the 3rd and the 4th year of Ahaz, if Ahaz changes it to be fall to fall here. And if this is in the 20th year, this is now in the 3rd year of Ahaz. And so they're just trying to be clear. But that's just one, it's just an opinion. There's no way that I can prove that, but it seems to explain that. And then you're going to have a 9-year period where there is no king of northern Israel. And then it says that, as what Stephen is pointing out here, is that Hoshea begins to reign in the 12th year of Ahaz. And you can see here that if Ahaz is going fall to fall, just like Hoshea, then it would just mean merely that Hoshea is going to begin to reign, and then as soon as the fall happens, he's going to count that as the beginning of his 1st year. So he's going to have an accession year. But if you had this reign going here, if you had Ahaz going, continuing his reign from Jotham's reign, and this is where I'm not sure about when you go back and how you start up the beginning of this period, Stephen. Exactly. Do you have them staggered like this, a year apart, or do you have this 2 years? Like you say you have it in the same year, right?
Yeah, just in the same year. I
Yeah.
haven't
So,
gone into
so
any detail.
yeah, because it's important that you get this part right, in order to see here that definitely if Ahaz is running spring to spring still, and Hoshea's fall to fall, you run into a problem here. So as you people watching, you'll see that it's not such a simple problem. That there's a number of different solutions, but as soon as you try to move something, it affects everything else. So it's some kind of uh, you know game or puzzle that's meant to drive you crazy. And I mean no disrespect, but it is a difficult puzzle. So definitely, if you're going to have Hoshea beginning to reign, I mean, he could have had a long accession year, right? He could have started way back here, um, in the winter, beginning to reign as his accession year, and this would then be the 12th year of of Ahaz. But this seems to me more likely. But there's not like there's a right or wrong answer that we can prove. We can just give the different solutions. So you can go back to your drawing. Hopefully that helps a little bit, um, with what you're doing. So you can just share yours.
See, that would do away with your theory. Like, would it not know that when it says in the 12th year of Ahaz began Hosea, rather than saying and it came to pass in the 3rd year of Hosea that was the whatever, that well, it doesn't say it here, but the 4th year of
Well,
Hezekiah
is the
was
seventh year. Is the seventh year. So it says that the 4th year of Hezekiah is the 7th year of Hoshea, and the 6th year of Hezekiah is the 9th year. So that means
yes,
that they're both going fall to fall. And so that's what I'm showing, is that I'm just showing that the fall to fall change happens with Ahaz reign, where you're going to put that it starts with Hoshea's reign. So it's going to be one of the two, right? It's either starts with Hoshea's reign, or pardon me, Hezekiah's reign begins to go fall to fall, or with Ahaz. The reason why I chose Ahaz is just because of the Jotham, the 20th year of Jotham. But it still will make them both be fall to fall. Once you get to Hoshea's reign lining up with Hezekiah's.
yes. But then you said, when it says something like in the 12th year of Ahaz began Hosea, it doesn't say, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
No, I don't think I said that.
Okay,
I don't think that's any different. It's in the 12th year of Hoshea, in the
right.
12th year of Ahaz, that Hoshea begins to reign. But that's the normal language. So you begin to
Okay.
reign in a king of Judah, and in this case, it would just be that Hoshea has an accession year, that he has a period of time in which he's yeah, because you're going to have here, you're not going to have an accession year for Hoshea.
No, because he has no other king that he's sort of descending from, that he's taken over.
Right.
Because you have a
Okay.
period of anarchy, so he's just coming in.
Yeah. So but that's why I say that what he's doing is he's becoming king pretty late in the year that he organizes it. And even though he doesn't have a king before him that he's taking over, since the fall is coming, he's just going to count that as his first year. But I don't think he would have done that if he had begun way in the winter. I don't think he would have had an accession year. But you're going to be moving Ahaz 1 year. You're going to be moving him quite a bit further. The beginning of this is going to be messed up. You're going to have him beginning his reign in 742, like late in 742. Ahaz, like not before the spring, not not at like December of 742. You're going to have Ahaz begin his reign much later to move him this far into Hoshea's reign.
I'll have to check that out. I'm not too sure whether
Yeah.
that's necessary. But
Okay.
anyway,
Well, let's look at this solution.
right, okay. So Hosea begins to reign in the 12th year of Ahaz. And then it's his like first year is just like a short one.
Okay.
Because he starts his main, so that would be, you wouldn't be having an accession year, that's just his first year. And then he's into his second year. And then come to his third year. And it's into Ahaz's 15th year, which is Hosea's third year, it says there. And it came to pass in the third year of Hosea that Hezekiah began the reign. So Ahaz is going to die, and Hezekiah is going to reign. So this is the 15th year of Ahaz, and it's 16 years he began the reign. So it's maybe been rounded up, or you could say that there's an accession year as well that's to be added to these here 15 years. So we have here a short accession year then. So he's maybe not too long into, maybe around the summertime, Ahaz dies, and then Hezekiah takes over, and then he's going to count his years then from fall to fall. So that's like a short accession year for him. And then his first year is going to align with the fourth year of Hosea. And it's this year when the Passover takes place. And the Passover is going to be in the May time. In the May. So
yeah, May.
In the first year of Hezekiah. So we'll have another diagram. I can't move the next page. We're going to have to stop share. Oh, I did. So this is taking us back to this year here. So the fourth year of Hosea and the first year of Ahaz is aligning. So I've aligned them here. This is to get another diagram. This is continuing on. So we have the May marked for the Passover. So the fifth year of Hosea is the second year of Hezekiah. I have to put that in there. Sixth year of Hosea, third year. And then we have the seventh year of Hosea aligning with the fourth year of Hezekiah. So in the fourth year of King Hezekiah, which was the seventh year of Hosea, that Shalmaneser came up against Samaria and besieged it. So we have them years aligning. And we have this here Ellen White statement saying about 2 years later from the Passover, we have this here statement here coming into to play. So if this was in the May time, this could be this is the year 723. So it could be like quite early on. We know that Babylon besieged Jerusalem in January. So even if it was like February, that would make that period there roughly about 2 years and 9 months. So Ellen White's saying here about 2 years later. I'm saying that that would be roughly 2 years, 9 months. So she's rounded down them years. You know, she's saying about 2 years. So she's quite being not maybe just being quite loose on it. So would that work?
Well, okay. So so we have 723, and we know that this siege is going to happen before the harvest, right? Because that's when you're going to besiege a city. Now, you could besiege it quite a long time before. I mean, you could do it a couple of months. But generally speaking, just from a logistical point of view, You're going to do it before the harvest, usually in like the 12th month, because the winter, it's quite rainy. It's kind of a miserable time to have a siege. So you're going to wait till the rains are over, and then you're going to besiege this city. So that would have happened in the 7th year of Hoshea, which is going to go from fall to fall. So that's not really a problem. Now, so saying it's about 2 years and 9 months, yeah, 2 years, 9 months, 2 years, 10 months, maybe. So I can kind of accept that because she says about 2 years. She's not being very specific. And she knows that this is the first year of Hezekiah, that this Passover occurs. And she knows that it's in the 4th year that the siege begins and that Hoshea is going to be taken captive. So she would know how to do math. But when she says about 2 years, I think she knows it's less than 3 years. So she chooses the language about 2 years. It's not very specific, but it's close. Now this is going to be important because we know in 721 BC in the spring that Sargon II is going to finish off the work begun by Shalmaneser V. So it's going to be Shalmaneser who's going to take Hoshea captive. And then this siege is going to last a long time. Right? So the Bible says 3 years, but it says at the end of 3 years, which means the border of 3 years, the 3rd year. Doesn't mean the last extremity. It can be the beginning of a year. So that's going to be 2 years that they have this siege, and it's going to end in the spring. So when Hoshea is taken captive, and we see the same thing with Jehoiachin, he's taken captive because when you have a siege, you're going to send out, the king is going to go out and try to negotiate. And for whatever reason, the negotiations broke down and Hoshea gets taken captive. And Assyria decides that they're going to go in this for the long haul. It's going to take 2 years until they finally, Samaria is going to succumb to this siege. And these aren't unprecedented. These are things that happen often, but usually they resolve it within a shorter period of time. So this is a pretty long siege, but Samaria is a very difficult city to have a siege against. So this solves the problem with Ellen White's statement, which to me was the main problem, but I still have some problems with your timing here. So can you go back to the other drawing where you have 726? So you're saying 726 is going to be the 4th year of Hoshea and the 1st year of Hezekiah. Now, you also have the 15th year in there. Why wouldn't you, another solution would be to say that Hezekiah, that his first sole year of reign, that maybe that there's an overlap with him and Ahaz. It's just not recorded. And that's the solution some people have. That it's going to actually be a bit later. So some people do suggest a co-regency, which we're going to have this 16 years. And I have a hard time putting it at 16 years unless, here, can I go back to my drawing here? Just show you what I'm talking about.
I have this one here.
Yeah, what's that?
This was the one I had sent you previously, where I had a co-reign.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not a fan of the co-reign either, right? So that's not my solution. My solution was to have Ahaz, because it has to do with the beginning here of 742. So I'll show you what I mean. because one of the things we have is we have this 65-year prophecy in 742 BC. So if we have Ahaz, you're going to have him beginning then in the fall of 742, that his first year begins, right? Or you're going to have it in the spring of 742, or you're going to have it in the spring of 741. I think you have it in the spring of 741 if you're doing it that way. Right? So this is the spring to spring ones. And so if I'm going to take here, you would actually have to have his first year in the spring of 741. That's how it would line up. See, 5, 4, 3, 2.
But then he would have an accession year.
What's that?
But then he would have an accession year. It goes into 742.
Right. So you're going to say that 742 is after the spring of 742, later in 742, right? I know I don't have it here. I might have it on my other page.
I haven't really worked that out.
Okay, so I don't know if I even have that option written down here. Yeah, so it would have had to have been here. This would have been his first year of reign in the spring. So I don't know. I still think you have Jotham's reign kind of wrong. I'm going to have to look over that in more detail. So it seems to me that you must have him start later. Because remember, Jotham is going to reign 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and his reign's going to be spring to spring. So if you're going to have Ahaz begin a spring to spring reign, he's going to have to, Jotham's going to have to die before the spring of 742. But I think you have him later. So we're going to have to work this out. We're going to have to communicate. We're not going to be able to solve this right now. But you see the problem, right? Hopefully other people can kind of see that you have to go back and everything has to be connected. You can't sort of you can't have this fuzziness about exactly how you're counting this. So to me, there's a consistency when you have the change from spring to spring to fall happen with Ahaz. And so what you see here on the bottom, this is Ahaz spring to spring reign. And you see he reigns 16 years. In his 16th year, Hezekiah is going to begin to reign. But in a fall to fall count, it would end up being in his 15th year. And so I have the first year here of Hezekiah beginning in the fall of 727, like you do. And which I think is the important part here, is that we have this lines up, but it's just working out the details of how we get there. Oh. Okay, so do you want to share your screen again? It's kind of weird. One of my computers disconnected Zoom, the one I was sharing the screen with, but yet it still shows it there. It's kind of weird. Anyway, you can share yours.
Right, okay.
I don't know what happened. Well, at least the one I'm recording on is still working.
Okay, so we've covered this here down to Josiah.
Okay.
And then I have Daniel's taken captive when he's 15 or 16, Ellen White says.
Mm-hmm.
And fourth year of Zedekiah's, Hananiah's fourth false prophecy, 593. See, I'm just trying to see if there's anything here.
Well, one of the things is we had because you mentioned it, but then you said that you used the wrong name. But Josiah's reign and the beginning of because you have Jehoahaz the second, I guess, and then you have Jehoiakim, and then Jehoiachin, and then Zedekiah. So we sort of touched on those, but you also have the end of Josiah's reign, and we probably should go over that. Have you? Because you had Josiah's reforms, which are connected to these prophecies of Ezekiel. So can you go a bit over Josiah's reign, some of the events there? Again, I know we sort of went over it. Because we dealt with Jeremiah, right? We dealt with Jeremiah in the 13th year of Josiah. Jeremiah begins to his prophesying. And he's going to prophesy from that time in the years of Josiah, Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah, all through that period of time. And into the last year of Zedekiah. So Jeremiah is going to be prophesying from 627 BC until 586, right?
Yeah, yeah, 13th year, yes. Well,
Yeah.
even be.
Yeah, he begins prophesying in the 13th year of Josiah.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's going to be 41 years.
Yes.
About, right? We don't know exactly when in the 13th year of Josiah he began to prophesy. We just know it's in the 13th year of Josiah. And Josiah is going fall to fall. So, I mean, it could be a bit earlier, 626, early in 626. Wait, it'd have to be late. It'd have to be 627. It wouldn't be. Yeah, okay, because Josiah's 13th year goes from the fall of 628 to the fall of 627, right? So it has to be in 627 probably. So it ends up being 41 years that Jeremiah prophesies.
Okay, so half Josiah begin the reign in 640. He's 8 years when he begins, in his 8th year when he's 16 years old.
Yeah.
He begins to seek after the God of his father David.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's in his 12th year, then he begins these here purges of the idols in Judea and Israel.
Yeah.
Then we discussed there the 13th year, Jeremiah begins. The 18th year is when the book of the law is found.
Yeah, and so that's going to be, the Passover is going to be in 622. So.
Yes, but it's still the 18th year, even though.
Yeah. Yeah, he's finding the book of the law in the fall or early winter or whatever in 623.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the Passover, 622.
We'll have Daniel being born around that as well.
Okay.
Or else he could be born around the time of the Passover. So we're not sure exactly. Ellen White says 15 or 16, so it's either one of them years.
Okay.
So it could be significant that he's born at that time. Then Josiah dies at 609 when he's age 39, Ellen White says.
Now he's going to die in about May of. So what do you have? Josiah's age 30. Who dies here?
Josiah's age 39.
Okay, yeah, there he is. Yeah, so he dies in the battle where he wasn't supposed to go to fight. And that's going to be in about May of 609.
Mhm. Yes, so Ellen White says, for more than a decade, following the celebration of the Passover, Josiah continued to reign. At the age of 39, he met his death in battle with the forces of Egypt.
Yeah, so 609 to 622 is more than a decade. Yeah.
Mhm. So,
But do you have Jehoahaz in there? Because Jehoahaz is going to reign after.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, he's going to be 22 years old when he begins to reign, and he reigns 3 months.
And then he's taken to Egypt.
Yeah.
And then, we're not told how long he lived.
Yeah.
Then Jehoiakim takes over. So I should maybe have Jehoiakim begin the reign then in that same year.
Right. Yeah. Jehoiakim should be mentioned there. And he's going to begin his reign prior to the fall. So Jehoiakim is probably going to begin reigning in September or late August, and the Day of Atonement, or the beginning of the 7th year, is going to happen late September. So he's gonna have a short accession year, just a month or so.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, we have here just correlations with when Zedekiah, the period of his reign when Ezekiel has his prophecies. And so nothing much more about events. It's just roughly correlate, just what focusing on what Ezekiel was prophesying about their time.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have here when he begins in 592,
Yeah.
with chapters 1 to 7, and then the following years chapters 8 to 19, then the following year chapters 20 to 23. That was 4 years before the destruction of the temple.
Yeah. Now also Zedekiah's reign is going to be spring to spring. Now, and just going to that point. So remember, we were talking about Hezekiah and Hoshea's reign. So if I'm going to go, where is that? That's going to be 2 Kings.
I think I have it as a footnote.
Yeah. And
somewhere.
yeah, and it's where is it here? It's in Hoshea begins to reign, Ahaz reigns, 2 Kings 18. It came to pass in the 4th year of King Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel. And it says at the end of 3 years, they took it even in the 6th year of Hezekiah, that is the 9th year of Hoshea, king of Israel. So this expression here, comparing the years in this way, saying that it is, not just that it occurred in a year, but that it is a year, shows that they're both going fall to fall. And you see the same thing when it came to Nebuchadnezzar's reign, that it's going to be in, where is this here?
Jeremiah 31, I think.
It's in Jeremiah. Hey? Okay. Yeah. So in Jeremiah. No, I don't think it's Jeremiah 31. Let me see if I can find this.
It's the 11th year of Zedekiah and the 18th year, I think, of Nebuchadnezzar.
Is that what it is? Yeah, the 18th.
Maybe 19th. 19th, I think, sorry. Oh.
Did you find it? You got the
Jeremiah 30. I do have it in this, actually. I was looking for it. Jeremiah 32, verse 1 says, "The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord in the 10th year of Zedekiah, king of Judah," so the 10th year, which was the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
So the which was again implies that the reigns of Zedekiah and Nebuchadnezzar began at the same time of the year, namely the spring.
Yeah. So those are the only places where I find that occur. And so the language in the Hebrew, it's quite different. So when it talks about, somebody beginning to reign in the year of someone else, that's the normal way in which it happens, showing that they're not counted the same. They're not both spring to spring or both fall to fall, except in these two two places, right? Instances. So these become, I know somebody looking on when we look at this chronology. I think one thing we want people to see is that this has been worked out in great detail, and we've weighed all of the different arguments. But when we look at this, 586, if you go to Wikipedia for the destruction of Jerusalem, they're going to have 587. And that's because they're using Edwin Thiele's date. So they're going to say that one is they're going to make the siege longer. They're going to make it, I believe, a 2.5 year siege if they do it that way. I'm trying to remember how they do that. No, I think they have a 1.5 year siege. But some people have 586 and they have a 2.5 year siege. So there's all these little differences. And I can't expect that every single person who watches these videos is going to become an expert on biblical chronology. But when we look at these things, you can see that we start with the premise that the Bible is true and the spirit of prophecy is correct. And we look at these different puzzles and we try to sort them through the best that we can. But when we do that, we can see that we take into account everything. Even if we come to a different conclusion, Stephen and I might come to different conclusions on some points, but they're still within the information that's given in the Bible, and that it's not going to be far apart. That is, there's some things that we just don't have enough information to nail it down, but that the Bible is consistent. And the more you study into it, the more you see that the Bible isn't full of a bunch of mistakes that would need to be corrected by man, which is what a lot of chronologists do. is, well, it doesn't fit into my theory, so now I'm going to correct the Bible. I'm going to say that that's a typo. And I really don't like doing that. I mean, I'm not saying that typos don't exist in the Bible, because it is possible they do, but I can't start with the assumption just because I have a theory and it doesn't fit the Bible that means it's a typo. That becomes a bit of a slippery slope to go down. Okay, so Stephen, you got more that you want to look at here? Dealing with the destruction of the temple, or?
I have just in this year paper, I go into more an examination of the prophecy of Ezekiel 4, verses 4 to 6.
Okay.
So we maybe make a start of it.
Well, I don't know. I think we should probably just leave that for next time.
Okay, that's fine.
But we can finish up a little bit here with the destruction of Jerusalem. So when we look at the siege, when does the siege occur? Because there's a puzzle here, which we're going to address when we get into the prophecy of Ezekiel. And so we need to look at this a bit more detail, I think. So this will sort of be leading into what we'll study in 2 weeks' time. So what is the particular problem that I solved in 2016 regarding the chronology of Ezekiel in relationship to Zedekiah's reign and Jehoiachin's reign?
Well, you said that Ezekiel's his chronology was going from the captivity of Jehoiachin, which was fall to fall.
Yeah.
And then Zedekiah, his chronology was spring to spring.
Yeah.
And the book of Ezekiel has occasions where it begins the chronology in the spring, the first spring of Zedekiah. And sometimes it references the fall of Jehoiachin.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring up the Bible here, and going to just show you what Stephen is explaining there. So we have the big puzzle, the big problem that everyone has had who has tried to deal with the captivity and the destruction of Jerusalem and so forth, is how we count the reign of Zedekiah. And that is, in my screen sharing, I'm looking at it here. It doesn't, there, finally it shows up. Okay, so in Ezekiel chapter 40, it's going to give us some information here. It's going to say in the 25th year of our captivity. So Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 1 starts with, it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity. So if this is the 5th year of Jehoiachin's captivity, and I go to chapter 40, and it says it's in the 25th year, the 25th year of our captivity, how many years have passed? If I go from the 5th year of our captivity to the 25th year.
Well, it looks like 20.
So it looks like 20. Now, one of the things that it said there in Ezekiel 1:1 is it was the 30th year of something, but it didn't say what it was the 30th year of. It just says in the 30th year. Now, when you read here in Ezekiel 40 verse 1, it says, in the 25th year of our captivity, in Rosh Hashanah. So the King James says the beginning of the year, but the Hebrew says Rosh Hashanah, on the 10th day of the month. Now, when is Rosh Hashanah?
The fall.
Okay, but what date? What month and what day?
First day of the 7th month.
So it's the first day of the 7th month. So if it's the 10th day of the 7th month and it's Rosh Hashanah, what does that mean?
The Jubilee.
It's a Jubilee year. So in a Jubilee year, they don't start the year on the first day of the 7th month. They begin it on the 10th day of the 7th month. Now, so this means that it's actually 19 and a half years later. Well, not even a half. It's 19 years and 2 months later, right? Because if it's in the 30th year, in the 5th day of the 4th month, so I guess that would be 3 months. So 19 years and 9 months later. Does that make sense? Did I get that right, Stephen? Am I doing that right? No, 19 years and 3 months later. I'm doing it backwards that time, right? So it's going to be 19 years. If it was in the 5th month, he would have said in the 24th year of our captivity. But once he gets to the 10th day of the 7th month, he's now starting a new year, and he's going to say in the 25th year of our captivity. Now, also, he says it's in the 14th year after the city was smitten. So some people read this and they say, well, this is, if you're going to go to the 25th year and you're going to just subtract 14 years, how many years after, or what year of the captivity was the city destroyed? If this is the 14th year after the city was smitten and the 25th year of our captivity, you just subtract 14 from 25 and you get 11, right? So if you're going to take it that way, which is correct, you're going to say that means in the 11th year of the captivity that the city was destroyed. Right? 25 minus 14, and they're both ordinal counts, so you would go to the 11th year. And that's the case, right?
Sorry, 11 years from when the captivity until the city is smitten?
Yeah, the 11th year of the captivity. That, because it's the 25th year of the captivity that he's talking about here, and the 14th year after the city was smitten. So if you're going to count, though, the 25th year as, so remember, it says in the 5th year, so the captivity happened in which year? The captivity of Jehoiachin.
597.
Okay. So then you would say, well, if the 5th year is 597, then, or the first year, then the 5th year is what? If the first year of the captivity is 597, the 5th year of the captivity is what? Or the 25th year? Because the question is, what year of the captivity is going to be 14 years from when the city was smitten? So we're trying to figure out what year the city was smitten.
Well, the 5th year we put down is 592.
Okay, we do. Okay. But most people are going to count. So even if we count the 5th year as 592, if they're going to count the 20th year or the 25th year, they're going to count 20 years later, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to count 20 years later from 592, that would bring you to where?
572.
Okay, so 572. And then if you're going to say that you're in the 14th year since the city was smitten, what date would you give for the smiting of the city? The difference is 572 plus 14, right?
586.
And you get 586. Okay. So when they do that count, they're going to be counting this in a spring to spring calendar. So the people who take this way, they count a spring to spring calendar. But if you count a fall to fall calendar, and I don't know how to explain this, maybe I'm going to need a diagram, but let's see here if I can find this quickly. I think I got that going the wrong way. Oh, here it is. Okay. I don't know if this is the best diagram that I have. It's probably not. I know I have a better one somewhere, but I don't know where. Just hang on. I'm going to quickly look ahead here. I got way too many diagrams here. Oh, here it is. Okay. So I have, this is the best one. So I got spring to spring, I got fall to fall. Here's the correct one. So what you see here is the chronology of Ezekiel's visions. Fall to fall captivity and spring to spring Zedekiah. If we're going to look at this history, and this is supposed to be over here. I recently changed this to widescreen, which means all this stuff gets pushed over. I have to go through and edit all these. Okay. So the top one is not the correct one. It's this bottom one. And I guess I could zoom in a little bit more. When we're going to be counting here, this is the 25th year and the 14th year. So when we're talking about the 25th year and the 14th year, it's the 14th year since the city was smitten. How would you count an event if you're counting ordinally? So if you say this is the 5th year that I've been in the movement, generally speaking, you would mean that you've been in the movement for 4 years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're making the argument here that there isn't 20 years between Ezekiel chapter 1 and Ezekiel 40. There's only 19 years, because we're saying that since he talks about it being in the 30th year, that when he talks about it being in the 25th year of the captivity, that's counting fall to fall. And that means it's going to be the 49th year since his first vision, because the 30th year is the year of the Jubilee cycle, and the 49th year is going to be the year in which, well, technically it's the 50th year. So it would have been the 49th year up until the 10th day of the 7th month, and it's now going to be the 50th year. So if he had said, this is in the 25th year of the captivity and in the 50th year of the Jubilee cycle, he would have been correct. I don't know if people can follow my bad explanation. But one of the keys that came about, so maybe I'm going to have to go over this again next time, but one of the keys was recognizing that when he talks about in the year of the captivity, he's talking about fall to fall. And when he talks about just generally something happens in a certain year, he means spring to spring. So Zedekiah's reign, he counts spring to spring, but he counts Jehoiachin's captivity fall to fall. And I know we've gone through this before, but not everybody watching these videos are going to be familiar with that. So I'll maybe try to think of a very simple presentation I can do next time before we get into the prophecy of Ezekiel chapter 4. Does that sound okay, Stephen?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I appreciate all your work on this. It's very, very helpful. But it's going to take time for people to study through these things, because it's taken Stephen and I time in order to understand them correctly. And there's probably still some things we don't understand correctly. So any final thoughts, Stephen, before you close with prayer?
Can you close with prayer?
Okay, any final thoughts then?
No.
No, okay. You didn't mind me interrupting you so much, eh?
No, that's fine. Unless that's someone else. Has any thoughts and ideas?
Yeah, yeah. Are people able to follow what Stephen and I are doing here? That's the question I have.
There's lots of points that you're bringing up that need some further explanation, but everything is fairly clear.
Okay. Yeah, I do know that, because Iran's talked about this and I've talked about it with him, is, we need to get this stuff on a website that has some kind of, interactive aspect to it, like where you can search up a king and it'll give you the years that he reigns, and you can search up an event in the Bible and it will tell you when that occurred and place it somehow in you have a line that shows those events, so that people who are looking into chronology have some tools that are interactive for them to deal with. But this paper of Stephen's is very good, in that it gives some really visual ways of looking at chronology, because most people can't just hold all these numbers and dates in their heads and kind of sort through them. So it's very, very helpful. So I really appreciate the work that Stephen did on this.
Yeah.
But we still have a lot more work to do. So this is just one step in getting this information together. And the other thing about it is, we do believe that at some point, this information is going to be useful in reaching the Levites. I can't imagine that many people would be interested in chronology, but if something becomes an issue, then some people will definitely become interested in trying to sort through all this information. So, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. And thanks, Stephen, again for all that. Let's close with prayer. Dear Father in heaven, we are so very grateful for the time that we have had on the Sabbath, and for the way that your Holy Spirit has given this movement an understanding of chronology. And we know, Lord, that there's much that we don't understand, but we know that your word is true, and that chronology is the backbone and the skeleton of prophecy, so that we need to understand chronology, to understand the prophecies of Scripture. And we're thankful for the way that you've been able to help us line on line to lay out these events and to see their connections. We ask, Lord, that you can bless each person as they study your word, as they seek for light and truth, and that you can bring us close to you. Thank you for hearing our prayer, and be with us in this week to come, we pray. In Jesus' name, amen.